get deeper into what's happening in Lima now with Kate Sheppard. She is the environment and energy editor at the Huffington Post. She joins us here in Washington. And Kate, let's start with the signs of lack of progress of what's happening in Lima. We're still a day or two away, but what happens if there's nothing agreed upon, no agreement?
Well, I've covered a lot of these things. I'm not in Lima this year, but I've covered them for the last 4 years, 5 years now, and it often seems like it's going to fall apart before it actually figures out how to get together. And I feel like this is pretty much how it feels on Thursday every year. And they're supposed to be done on Friday. They end up going overnight Friday. Sometimes they go into Saturday. Sometimes they go overnight Saturday. I mean, a lot of it sort of is last minute sort of work that really makes it happen. So I figure they'll get together and have something on paper at the end of the conference.
And of course, some of the big players just arrived within the last 24 hours. Focus, though, is on the 2 degrees Celsius temperature rise. Why is that such a critical target?
Well, this is the target that they first agreed to back in Copenhagen, which was in 2009 conference. That was sort of the aim, is how do we get to that target? I think most people agree that the emissions cuts that have been put on the table probably won't get us to that target at this point. We're probably on track for 3.6 degree warming, but I think it's really important that they keep this level of ambition high. You should aim for 2 degrees, even if you're not going to make it, because if you're aiming for 3 degrees, you're probably going to go higher than that. I mean, it's important to have a strong ambition in this deal.
I want to draw your attention to a graphic. Most scientists say there's so much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere already, and that global temperatures are doomed to rise by at least 1 degree Celsius. And looking at the rise since pre-industrial times here, temperatures have already risen somewhere between 0.4 and 0.6 degrees Celsius. So we have 2 scenarios here whether that trend will continue. So what factors are at play for staying below a 2 degree rise?
Well, when you look at the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports, they often look at different scenarios, right? They say, here's our low emission scenario, here's a medium emission scenario, and here's the high scenario. The question is, do we go on the low emission scenario and keep that warming, at a lower level than what's projected right now? Do we stay on the course we're on now and continue to see the rise that we've seen so far? Or do we just let our emissions keep rising and see temperatures rise? So it's really up to us to choose which path line we get on going forward.
How much time is there left to come up with an agreement? I know you said there's a lot of last-minute wrangling till the very end, and then everyone on the onset was very optimistic that there would be no complications, that we're on track for Paris next year.
Yeah, I mean, look, people wanted to have an agreement in Kyoto in the 90s. They wanted to have an agreement in Copenhagen in 2009. I mean, we're past due an agreement at this point in time, but the framework that they laid out in Durban said that we would have this agreement by the end of 2015. They're still working toward that. Even if they don't, quite get as far as they wanted in Lima, they still have another year to get to that point in Paris next year.
And do you think there's still some wiggle room once Paris arrives, that they can maybe finalize some?
I think there's always wiggle room, and these things probably always take a lot longer than people want them to take. But there are interstitial meetings throughout the year, so I think what they really want to do in Lima is get the right framework in place in order to have the key elements that they will need to finalize something next year.
All right, Kate Sheppard, thank you so much for your time and your insight. We surely appreciate it.